probably wondering why CatNap didn't kill the player. Since the game was released, a lot of time has passed, and it seemed like the third chapter answered many of our questions that had been bothering us for a whole 2 years, but it also brought up new ones. The main hero we play as has encountered monsters multiple times, but I've noticed a strange trend throughout all 3 chapters. CatNap only attacks us at the end of the game, leading to the final boss battle. Similarly, with the main antagonist of the game, we should only encounter them at the very end, which concludes the current part of the story, just like it was before. But if you think about it, why don't the bloodthirsty and hungry monsters attack us right away? What's the reason for delaying such a moment? Even if we stumbled into a monster's clutches right from the start, it still wouldn't touch us. The main battle with it will only be at the end. I thought this was a good observation, so why not make a video about it? So what's the reason why CatNap and the other monsters of Poppy Playtime don't attack us right away? Let's start with Huggy Wuggy. What's up with him? In the first chapter at the factory, we approached him up close, and at that moment, he could have attacked us, but he didn't. For some reason, Huggy Wuggy decided to choose a different tactic. He slipped away, flashing his heels, then quietly watched us from various angles, and only in the end did he decide to appear before us in full force. What was the point of all this hiding? Isn't this an inconvenient moment for an attack? Huggy Wuggy clearly caught us off guard. As shown on the last cassette of the third chapter titled Hour of Joy, Huggy attacked the company's employees at that spot, and we literally almost repeated their fate. What stopped him from bending down and devouring us? A bad back. As we see from his running in the ventilation, his back doesn't hurt. He feels quite comfortable in tight spaces, and he can move very fast. Initially, one could assume that Huggy Wuggy was like a hunter stalking us as prey, observing our habits and behaviors, seeing what we're capable of, and only then deciding to attack us fully. Having studied us beforehand, he could have known all the employees by sight. Every time the workers passed by Huggy Wuggy, he watched them and also read their behavior. And now, 10 years have passed since those terrifying events, and Huggy still didn't understand who could show up at the factory.
My name is Elliot Ludwig. When you look around at the world today, what one thing do you think it needs more of? I asked around once. Money. I never have enough.
In the second chapter, we faced a similar situation. Mommy Longlegs. If at the end she tried to kill us, and that was her main goal, why didn't she do it earlier? Here too, the same explanation, but now Mommy gives us a test and sees what we're capable of. She's not just tracking us, she knows why we come to this or that location with the monsters and gives us a little test, not forgetting to start each contest with die or survive and give her fiery speech. In the end, she freaks out because we're not playing fair, surviving everything, and so she decided to take the situation into her own hands. What about the minor antagonists? They attack us right away. They attack immediately. But only on Mommy's command, even if they wanted to eat us themselves, which I don't doubt without Mommy's command, they wouldn't move. Did you notice? In the third chapter, this trend only intensified. Even such a minor character as Miss Delight didn't immediately attack us. She even warned us to get out of her school as soon as possible, and only after some warnings did she decide to come out and start throwing punches. Additionally, she's really hungry. Let me remind you, she devoured all of her sisters, and overall, the chick couldn't hold herself back. Came out to meet us with open arms, the school being our second home, she said. But with Miss Delight, the situation is much more interesting. She wasn't the one tracking us. We came to her location, in fact, to her lair, and only then did she attack us. At the beginning, you might feel like she wants to save us, and only later do we realize that it's from herself. And maybe there's still something human left in the monsters. As strange as it may sound, it's been 10 years after all. They must have calmed down somehow, but hunger takes over. I'm not justifying her. She's really messed up, but still, it's quite interesting that she doesn't attack us right away. CatNap. At the beginning, he drags us somewhere and gives us a chance to escape. Then he runs by as if he doesn't notice us, and we were so hoping he'd pay attention to us at that moment, but the cat deliberately ignores us. He doesn't care. You could say that the cat has been playing with us all this time, just like the other monsters. And here's the irony. Toys decided to play with us. True, they're not exactly toys. They're huge mutant monsters made based on the toys produced by the company Playtime Co. I'd also like to draw attention to another character, I'd even say the most important one, and ask one simple question. Why doesn't Prototype kill us? After all, he's the main villain, and Poppy already marked him as a target to be eliminated. Does Prototype know that he's already being hunted? Of course. He could have noticed long ago that some guy was running around the abandoned factory, especially a former company employee. Wasn't Prototype's goal to kill all the company's employees who had been mocking him for so long? It doesn't matter who's guilty and who's not. Prototype didn't even need to do anything. The monsters did it all for him. And if it weren't for his appearance at the end of the 3rd chapter, CatNap could have grabbed us, but it turns out that Prototype prevented the cat from killing us. Why? I'm more and more convinced that Prototype needs us for some very important purpose. We're like some missing piece in his interesting plan, and apparently he'd been hatching his plan for a long time. Or maybe he came up with it recently. 10 freaking years have passed since the hour of joy. What was this wise hand up to? It feels like our appearance at the factory prompted Prototype to act, as if some idea came to him after long 10 years, and only then do we find out what this idea is. By the way, Prototype's reluctance to quickly deal with us may also be the reason why other monsters don't kill us right away. Maybe Prototype somehow controls them. After all, it's him who's blamed for the hour of joy. At least that's what the Poppy doll says. What exactly Prototype did to influence the monsters is unknown. Maybe we'll find out about it in the next chapter. But the fact remains that even Prototype doesn't attack us. Of course, it's not profitable for him yet. After all, he's not just collecting monster bodies for no reason. Maybe he's really strengthening himself or recreating his new body. And since the monsters devoured each other, the plot might also lead us to the fact that there was no cunning plan at all. Prototype just ate the monsters. Maybe he's not that smart and has the same instincts as the others. However, some notes from the cassette recordings tell us the opposite, that Prototype is very smart, and the developers give us such references not just to initially interest us and then disappoint us. No, Prototype clearly doesn't kill us for another reason. He'd just be hungry and attack without a second thought like the other monsters. But those are my thoughts, my theories. You can write yours in the comments.